It is on Rosh Hashanah, it is customary to read Bereshit, Genesis 21, and Genesis 22. And what we normally do is we read the first verses, we meditate upon them, and that is where a lot of our inspiration essentially comes for this season. So if you were to read Genesis 21, it is the story of Isaac. It is a story of Abraham and Sarah and Isaac being born. And this is a new beginning. So it's a celebration. And I call this drash with really, really simple words: celebrate your next. So Torah tells us that Isaac was born to Sarah and Abraham, the patriarch, when he was about 100 years old. Just think about that for a second. Just as God commanded on the 8th day, he did circumcise his son, and that was a milestone. Just imagine that. 100 years old, circumcising his own son. You got to visualize that. See, I trust somebody professional for these kinds of things. We read in Bereshit, chapter 21, verse 8, that Abraham, he threw a celebration for his son, a party in Isaac's honor. And that party, that celebration in verse 8, actually had to do with another milestone. Okay, the Brit Milah has already happened, so you say, what's the other milestone? Well, what the Torah doesn't tell you is quite a bit of time has passed between these verses. And in verse 8 we read, Vayigdal hayeled vayigamal. And the boy grew, vayigdal, and he was weaned, vayigamal. Now, that was a reason for the party. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but ancient Hebrews typically weaned their children right around when their teeth would come in. So that makes it 2.5, 3 years old. That's how much time has passed since his Brit Milah in just these few verses. And that's what they're celebrating. So child being weaned does not seem like a really big event. Does not seem like maybe an event worthy of a party, but that's what, for Abraham, it was. So he decided to throw a party. That's what we read in Torah. And for him, that was a worthwhile celebration. So, as we read this verse, seemingly mundane fact of history, he threw a party for his son because he was weaned. Okay. What lessons can we possibly learn from this? From this fact of life? I have some principles of faith to offer, and I wanted to zero in on one in particular this evening. I think Hashem can be telling us that we need to be weaned off the past as we celebrate what's next with Hashem. Think about it for a second. We celebrate milestones in our life for a reason. When we bring Hashem into our celebration, when we do this together with Him, when we recognize that a moment which we did not reach on our own, when we bring Hashem into these mundane parts of our life, like, for example, our child being weaned, right? Seemingly mundane moment, but yet we can sanctify it. And all of a sudden, this starts to affect. This turns this moment into a spiritual moment, and we benefit spiritually from that because we make this a part of our spiritual journey. Now, being weaned as we move forward to maturity, what happens is you get new abilities, right? You got teeth. Now you can chew solid food. Now you start growing as a child and develop as a person. You develop into the person that Hashem is meant to become. That's what that new stage means. That's what that new beginning means. Seemingly small milestone, yet it's moving forward. So in English, by the way, to wean means to make someone stop using something or doing something, and to make them transition to something else. Very simple word, right? But the verb which communicates this in Hebrew is gamal. It's to wean. But that's kind of one of its more obscure meanings. You actually know this verb gamal quite well. It's a simple verb that often means to do or to treat someone in a certain way. In the very first blessing of the Amidah, which we just said, perhaps you remember this phrase, we refer to Hashem as Gomel Chasedim Tovim. That's exactly what it means. The one who does acts of kindness and goodness to us. That's what this verb really means. And it can refer to an act of retribution sometimes. Sometimes it can refer to an outcome or a result. Gama it can mean to ripen in agricultural sense when used of fruits and vegetables. And in general, it just communicates readiness. You've come to that pivotal point of making a transition. There's something that is going to happen that's going to be your next. So when Isaac was weaned, he reached the point of being ready for what was next for him in his life. But like Isaac, we all have reached our next. Here we are. It's Rosh Hashanah. It's a new beginning. It's a new stage. It's a new next in our life. Now, as you reflect on this moment, I want you to think maybe there are some things that you need to be weaned off when it comes to the past year. Just let it go. Begin the new stage. Maybe it's that transitional point for you. I say move forward and let's celebrate our next in Hashem's presence, because we're going to make this next not just a turning page on the calendar, not just another date that rolls over, but we're going to bring Hashem into this and recognize that without His help we would not be here at all. So may you enjoy a sweet and happy year ahead.